It happened in the tunnel, just minutes after the final out. Reporters were still filing their game recaps when word started spreading through the press box. Manager Frank Donovan wanted everyone back in the media room. Nobody expected what came next. 2 new players. 3 regulars gone. And a number that made every beat writer in the room stop typing. $300 million. What did you think when you first heard this news break? Honestly, my first reaction was disbelief. You don't usually see a front office move this fast, especially not minutes after a game ends. Normally these things leak slowly, a source here, a rumor there, weeks of speculation before anything is confirmed. But Donovan walked into that room and just said it outright. No hedging, no. We're exploring options. He confirmed the dollar figure himself. That tells you the front office wanted to control the narrative immediately, rather than let it leak piece by piece. Let's break down what we actually know. The team brought in 2 reinforcements in the same breath that 3 regular roster players were let go. That's not a minor tweak, that's a structural overhaul. And then there's the catcher. A new catcher joining mid-announcement like that usually signals one specific thing. The front office lost confidence in the existing battery and wanted a defensive and game-calling upgrade immediately, not next off-season. What's your read on the catcher signing specifically? I think the catcher move is actually the most telling part of this whole announcement. Position players get traded for performance reasons all the time, but catchers are different. A team doesn't usually replace a catcher mid-season unless there's a deeper issue. Maybe pitch framing numbers were down, maybe there were communication issues with the pitching staff, maybe they just felt their current arms needed a different kind of veteran presence behind the plate. Whatever the internal reasoning was, moving on a catcher this aggressively, in the same press conference as a $300 million confirmation, tells me ownership gave Donovan a mandate to fix everything at once rather than addressing it piecemeal. Now here's where it gets even more interesting. Before leaving the clubhouse, one of the departing regulars, a player named Reyes who'd been a fixture in that lineup for years, reportedly made a pointed comment directly to star slugger Diego Mateo. Sources close to the situation say it wasn't a friendly goodbye. What do you make of that exchange? That's the part of this story that I think gets overlooked when people focus only on the dollar figure. A $300 million reshuffling is going to dominate headlines no matter what, but the human element here might end up mattering more long-term. If Reyes really did say something pointed to Mateo on his way out, that suggests there was tension building in that clubhouse that the public never saw. Teammates don't usually fire parting shots unless something had been simmering. Maybe it was about playing time, maybe it was about how the front office handled the transition, maybe it was something between the two of them specifically. We don't know the exact words, and honestly, we may never know. But the fact that it happened at all, in that moment, right as the trade news was breaking, adds a layer of drama that the official statement alone doesn't capture. Let's talk about the financial side for a second, because $300 million is not a number teams throw around lightly. What does committing that kind of money in one swoop tell you about where this organization sees itself right now? It tells me they believe they're in a win-now window and they're not interested in half measures. Teams that are rebuilding don't make moves like this. Teams that think they're a year or 2 away from contending also tend to be more cautious. They'll add pieces gradually and protect future flexibility. A $300 million commitment delivered in one breath, alongside roster departures and a same-day catcher signing, is the kind of move you make when leadership believes the current core is good enough to win immediately if it's just supported correctly. Essentially, Donovan and the front office are betting big, right now, on this current group plus reinforcements being enough to get over the top. But there's risk here too. Whenever you remove 3 regular contributors from a roster at once, you're disrupting chemistry that took time to build. Lineups aren't just collections of individual talent, they're systems, players who've learned each other's tendencies, who trust each other in big moments. Swapping that much of the roster simultaneously means the new group has to build that trust essentially from scratch, potentially in the middle of a competitive stretch. That's a real gamble even if the individual talent upgrade is clear on paper. So how do you think Mateo handles this? He's the one player at the center of both storylines, the financial shakeup and the personal exchange with Reyes. Mateo's reaction is going to say a lot about where his head is. If he comes out publicly supportive of the front office's decision, that tells you he trusts Donovan's vision and wasn't blindsided by any of it. If he stays quiet, or if reporters can't get a clear answer out of him, that might suggest there's more tension under the surface than the team wants to admit. Star players in his position are often put in an awkward spot during moves like this. They're expected to be the face of stability for fans and media, even if privately they're processing the loss of teammates they were close with. How he carries himself in the next few games will probably tell us more than any official statement will. What I keep coming back to is the timing of all of this. Doing it immediately after a game, rather than waiting for an off day or a scheduled press conference, suggests urgency. Maybe there was a deadline tied to the financial structure of the deal. Maybe Donovan wanted to get ahead of leaks. Maybe the front office simply wanted to rip the bandage off all at once rather than let speculation drag out over days. Whatever the reason, that urgency adds to the sense that this wasn't a leisurely, fully workshopped decision. It had the feel of something that needed to happen fast. Looking at the bigger picture, this is the kind of move that organizations either look back on as the turning point of a championship run, or as a cautionary tale about disrupting a good thing too aggressively. There's no in-between with a swing this big. $300 million, 2 new faces, 3 departures, a new catcher, and a parting shot between teammates, all in one night. That's not a transaction, that's a statement. The question now is whether the locker room buys into it as fast as ownership clearly did. We'll be watching closely to see how the new-look roster performs in the coming weeks, and whether Mateo addresses what happened with Reyes directly. For now, all we have is the official announcement, and a lot of unanswered questions about what was really going on behind the scenes.